Al, it's time for you to take the reins of the podcast because you spend probably, I'm going to take a wild guess here. Guess here.
Okay. Yes.
100. That's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
75 hours.
No.
Higher or
Let
lower?
less.
Well, that's surprising.
I know.
150.
You're very close.
155.
Lower.
145.
Very, very close.
144.
Up.
147.
146.
146. 146 hours, which is, I think, on the low end
146 hours.
for you in terms of this series of games.
To be fair, I've only played through it once so far.
I mean, yes, that's true, but also I feel like your initial playthroughs of the second game were also very long.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
So there's that as well. But yeah, hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium.
Hello, hello.
This is episode number 295. The road to 300 continues, and we are discussing Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Mm-hmm.
The third game in the series. Fourth, technically, but third.
Fourth, technically.
In this storyline.
Yes, correct.
That's the thing to go with there. This game came out about a month ago at this point now.
Jesus Christ, was it
July
really?
29th, 2022.
Holy moly. Well, it's not almost
About a
month.
week
It's...
less than a month, but
yeah.
that's why I said about a month ago.
Okay.
That's fair. So
I'll
at
give
the
you
at the
that.
end of July, and you have been just neck deep in this video game for the past time since the game came out.
I literally bought the digital version so I could play it as soon as it came out. Even though I had already bought the physical version.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was over as soon as I was able to unlock it. I unlocked it at like 9 p.m.
Yeah,
On
that's the West
Thursday when it
Coast
came
advantage.
out. Uh-huh. And so I was just like gremlin mode.
Gib.
Gib. I went completely bananas playing this game and did some slight wrecking of my sleep schedule that I had to fix, but
Not wrong.
I started a job because I have to get paid monies to live, and it took me a little bit longer to actually complete the game than
Cut
I
into
thought
my
it would.
Xenoblade time.
It really did. It really did. Dang. I should just get paid to play Xenoblade all the time.
I mean, that would be nice, but I don't know if that's really a thing you could do.
Yeah, I don't think that's marketable.
But yeah, that's the storyline of Al playing this game. I didn't play this game because, I mean, I didn't like 2 that much, and I didn't finish the remake of 1, so
Right.
I didn't think that would have been a wise financial choice to make on my part. But I'll probably play the DLC when it comes out or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
I think you would probably like this one better. But I can't guarantee it.
It's still a very long game.
It is a very long game. You are
Yeah.
correct.
But I am happy to hear some of the things you've told me about it in terms of like how they've seemed to improve things.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into some development first before we dive into the actual game itself.
Sure.
According to Tetsuya Takahashi, creator of the Xenoblade Chronicles series, the key visual depicting the broken sword of the Mechanist from Xenoblade Chronicles and the wounded Titan of Uraya from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was first conceived between the end of development of Xenoblade Chronicles and the beginning of development of Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Mm-hmm.
In May 2018, Takahashi pitched Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as his new game concept to Nintendo. The first production group of Monolith Soft, known for their work on the Xenoblade Chronicles series, started development on the game in August 2018 after Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn to the Golden Country went gold. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was announced in February 2022 and was initially set for release in September. It was later shifted to an earlier release date of July 29th.
Can we talk about the fact that it was announced this year?
Yeah.
And nobody, oh my God, that's amazing. It was just like, all right, cool, it's coming out. it's also coming out like really soon.
in a handful of months.
Yeah, it was amazing. They should do that more often. Anyway, game is described.
As featuring a narrative that will depict the respective futures for the worlds of the previous two entries, which it does.
Yes.
Following the announcement, a blog post on the official Nintendo website revealed preliminary details about the game's development. Takahashi was confirmed to be working on the game in an executive director position, while various other returning staff members from previous Xenoblade Chronicles games were revealed to be reprising their duties, including the composing team behind the first two entries and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 lead character designer Matsusugu Saito, returning to work on the game's art alongside Xenosaga and Xenoblade Chronicles artist Koichi Mugitani. And then we have music.
Music.
As with the first two Chronicles game, the game's soundtrack was written by Yasunori Mitsuda, Manami Kiyota, Ace, and Kenji Hiramatsu. They were joined by Mariam Abu Nasser, I guess that's how you pronounce it, who arranged tracks for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. In order to create a sound that had not been heard before, Monolith Soft had created custom flutes, created in different sizes and tuned to different scales, resembling flutes from the game. The first track Mitsuda worked on for the game was A Life Sent On, its main theme. Takahashi told Mitsuda in advance to interweave the two melodies of Noah and Mio into a single piece of music, and Mitsuda seemed to have thought that creating the flutes would enable him to express himself easier.
That's really cool.
So you have that. This game has a current score on the Metacritic of an 89 out of 100, which is pretty high.
It's pretty high.
In Japan, when it came out, it was the best-selling game of the week, which sold 112,728 physical copies. It was also the best-selling physical game of its first week in release in the UK, where it had the biggest launch for the entire Xeno franchise in terms of copies sold.
Wow.
So there you have all of that. Now I'm gonna start this off with the most important question that I have to ask you.
Oh, no.
How would this game have been improved if they had added gacha back in?
No. No. No.
What do you mean? Everyone
No.
loved that feature from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It was the most requested feature to bring back. Everyone was like, man, I hope they do this again. I can't wait to grind out these polls and not get what I want.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely not. No. No. Huge improvement to not have gacha.
They took that idea and they're like, we're going to throw this in the trash.
Where it belongs.
Where it belongs.
Yeah, that was not a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm very, very glad that did not carry over.
I don't think there was any world that would have been a possibility that they could have done that again.
Yeah, oof. Oof.
Because oofa doofa, that was just a terrible idea.
It really was.
Oh boy.
I'm not just saying that because I'm still salty I didn't get Cosmos.
But you're still salty you didn't get Cosmos.
Still salty. I got to the point where I could defeat 110 level super boss in less than 30 seconds, so I could grind out cores, and I still didn't get Cosmos.
Yep.
Yep.
That's how it works.
Yep. So, huge improvement to have that feature.
That feature's
gone.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. That was very good. Which also led to the fact that the character designs are also not as horrible as 2, which made me very happy.
Another good thing.
Yeah, it was like not horrifically embarrassing to play it. That I'm like, oh God, what are you wearing? Why do you look like that? Like, it went back to more of the like 1 style, which I was happy with. Because like, yeah, there are characters in this game that like they have really big boobs. Cool. All right, people in real life have really big boobs, but they were not just like every single character has that and like tiny hot pants on. It was a huge improvement. So that made me happy.
Well, that is good to hear.
Yes.
The combat of these games are, they've been very similar up to this point. They have kind of the same systems and everything. They have this kind of like faux MMO combat style that they've used from Xenoblade 1 to Xenoblade 2, and I think also in X as well.
Yep.
How did they take the ideas from all those games and like improve upon anything, or like, do new things within the combat of 3, or did they really kind of just like keep the same ideas and just refine them in just specific ways, essentially?
Um, so there are a lot of ideas from the old games that have been brought in. Like you still have a lot of the same like directional attacks. You still have the auto attack that happens. But in terms of like how it functions,
Mm-hmm.
it plays a lot more like Torna, um, which is great. And I guess the big difference that you'll find here is that because you have the Ouroboros modes for the characters, um on the controller you'll have your like your move set on the right with the four buttons, and then you'll have a move set on the left with the directional buttons. And three of them you can do like a ZR and then hit them at the same time and it'll fuse them. And that will level up your Ouroboros rank so you can come out with like a stronger fusion. Which I guess I should explain what Ouroboros is, huh?
Yeah, that would help.
Okay, so Ouroboros is one of the big like quote unquote gimmicks of the game, and that the characters can fuse together and become like I don't know how to describe them. They're like very large. They're not mechs per se, but they look more like that than they do people. But so Noah and Mio fuse, Lance and Senna fuse, and then Tyon and Uni fuse. And about halfway through the game, you can get a swapperoonie where like the second person actually takes charge. So you have like with the Noah Ouroboros, you have like Noah Mio where Noah is in charge, and then halfway through you can like switch it and you can make a Mio in charge. And the design of it looks different, the entire move set's different. And it's more focused on what their original skill set is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And then I guess the other like really big thing that's worth mentioning is that you can switch classes in this. Um so your main characters can they can like learn each other's classes, but then you can also inherit classes from heroes that you find throughout it. Um so you can really customize how you want to play this game, which is really cool.
Is that a mechanic that you think is like beneficial for the game, or is it just better to kind of just stick with the default classes throughout the most of the game?
I had a lot of fun playing around with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know that's not for everybody,
Right.
but one thing that I really liked to change up is that Uni and Tyon are both technically healer classes. So if they decide they're going to fuse and be in Ouroboros mode, you have no healer. Like they have heals in that mode, but you don't have like a dedicated person that's just throwing down heals.
Right.
So I was like, ugh. So you know, I would play around with like putting other people as a healer, or like have my hero character that I bring in just be a healer. Um, but it was cool that you can switch like which character you actually want to play as and what class you want them to actually be.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really like change up how you're gonna play it, and each class has like selectable arts. So if you don't want to go with the default arts, you can just find other ones. And um, I don't know. I enjoy it when games are like that.
Yeah,
That
I'm sure
that
there's like
there's choice.
I'm sure there's already like people who have found like the ways that you can just super break this game in terms of like,
Oh, I'm
this
sure.
class, this art, set is like perfect for this character and so on and so forth, and like you'll just blaze through everyone essentially kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm sure. And one thing that is beneficial um is that all of your main characters have a very similar baseline in terms of their stats.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you want to make Lance, who is your typical like heavy tank character, he's your defense. Like if you want to make him into a healer and like have him do like only magical stuff, he's fine with that. He can do it. His stats don't say he can't, which is great because a lot of times with those kinds of characters, like, no, your stats are just like, you can't do this. You're going to be a terrible healer. And he's like, nope, I am competent. So, he's your Ryan equivalent, by the way.
Well, did you know that it's Ryan time?
It's always Ryan time. Always Ryan time.
How did you feel about the soundtrack? Because we got mention of how like they made custom flutes for this game and everything, and you're a big proponent of these Xenoblade soundtracks in terms of like the great battle themes of them and all that sort of stuff. So like, how does that match up to the other games, and is it as good, or is it does it exceed them? Is it more disappointing?
I think it's easily one of the best soundtracks in the entire series. And I think part of that is because they experiment so much with the flute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you're too like, I mean, you really have multiple main characters, but like the two characters that they focus on the most, which are Noah and Mio, they're off-seers, they play flute. So I think that incorporating that into the soundtrack was a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't hear that very often that like you have very flute-driven music in games. And it's really well done. That being said, you still have some great songs where it's just shredding guitars and you are amped and ready to go.
Yeah.
Um, so the soundtrack is phenomenal. I would love to own it. One thing that is odd about the soundtrack is that if you decide you're going to do a chain attack, um no matter what kind of background music you had before, doesn't matter. They're going to start playing the chain attack music. So if you have like a really somber moment where it's like very serious like music in the background while you're fighting a boss or something, then you hit chain attack, it's like, let's do chain attack music. I'm like, oh, that's okay. It's a little jarring at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the soundtrack, and you still get the same kind of feeling. I think often about how amazing it was for me when I played the first game, where I got to the plains pretty early on, and you get the like sweeping music, and it's so beautiful, and you still get that kind of feeling here. And like I was really enjoying just running around, listening to the music, deciding who I was going to murder later. It was great.
The chain attack music sounds like the similar situation we had in Live Alive, where you're like going through the the far future stuff, and you go into the break room and you just hear the arcade music, and you're just like, what this is a little bit much.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. That you're just like, this doesn't go here, but I guess it's here anyway, so we're just gonna deal with it. It was very strange, but and it is definitely worth a mention that one of the things that you can do throughout the game is you can find they call dead bodies husks. So you can find husks of people all around the world, and you can have Noah or Mio send them, like do the off-seeing thing.
Like it's Final Fantasy X.
Well, I did tell you that it has multiple parents, and Final Fantasy X is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also some if there are multiple bodies in a or husks in a spot, then they will both start playing. All of those flute tunes are just mind-blowingly beautiful. They're so well done. So I wasn't even mad that like it was not skippable to do it when you're running around the you can skip it if it's the two people doing it, which is weird, but if you're just running around doing a single husk, you can't skip it. And I was like, I'm not even mad because it's beautiful. It's so good.
Al loves the flute.
You know I played flute, right?
I believe I did know that.
Yeah, I played flute. I wasn't very good at it, but I played flute.
Flute Master Al over here.
There's a reason why I don't play flute now.
um, Tell me about how I'm trying to find the right word for this.
Okay.
Disappointing this game is when played in handheld.
Oh boy. um it's a mess in handheld mode. Like it plays okay. Like it's functional, but it looks like trash.
Yeah.
So I tried to do that once where I was like, oh God, I'm so tired, but like I really want to do this thing, so I'm just gonna undock it and like go lie in bed and try and finish this thing. And I was looking at it, I was like, no, nope, I can't do it. I'll just wait until the morning and
Which,
then I'll finish what I'm doing.
which I think like 2 also had problems when it was
Yes,
undocked.
correct.
So I guess it's not a huge surprise that this is a similar thing that's happening here, but it is still disappointing. But also, I guess, this is a game that's running on a 5-year-old console
Yes.
that wasn't, the top of the notch hardware when it came out.
Right?
So it is one of those things I think where like any Switch game, you're probably going to have some diminishing returns when it's like a big game like this.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising, but it's still disappointing. And I've heard like when you have the Switch Lite, it's even worse
Oh, I bet.
because that screen's smaller.
Right. Oof. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
Um, like it definitely has some like jaggy edges sometimes in like the docked mode.
Right.
But overall, like it's very beautiful looking game. It looks really, really nice. But yeah, just don't undock it.
Keep it on your TV.
Yeah, keep it on your TV and it's fine. It's beautiful.
It's fine.
Fine.
Okay, now I'm going to give you the hardest thing you're going to have to do within this episode.
Oh no.
Give me a brief but basic summary of the plot.
Oh, oh God. Okay. Brief. Um, okay, so you have how am I gonna do this brief? The world exists in a way that most of the people that you encounter have a potentially 10-year lifespan. So they start out at 10 years old and then they have their quote unquote homecoming at 20 and are they go back to the queen and disappear essentially. Um, so in order to maintain being alive in that cycle, you have to kill other people. So you have a thing called a flame clock, and you have to constantly fuel that flame clock in order to survive. And so that's the world that you come into, and um, you have Noah, Lance, and Uni who are part of Colony 9. Ha, Colony 9. Um, and they win this giant battle, destroy this other group of colony folks. They're this is where you get the sense that like Noah feels like something's off because he's really sad about it. He doesn't like doing this at all. Which is part of why he becomes the officer. Um, and Lance and Uni basically are his protectors. So they get sent on a special mission to look at this special um, airship thingy. And when they get there, they run into the other forces. So you have Kevis, which is where Noah's from. And then you have Agnes, which is the other country, essentially. So they run into Agnian folks, and that's where you find Mio, Senna, and Tyon. We're all fighting each other. It's bad. Um, and then this big old dude shows up and is like, "Hello, you are the ones. You need to fight the true enemy." And then he drops like an egg on them, and they get the power of Ouroboros. And he's like, "By the way, everybody's gonna hate you now. You should go to the city. It's at the base of the sword. Also, I'm gonna die. Somebody shot me. Ow." Um,
Gives you an egg in this trying time and then dies.
yeah, basically. Um, is Van Damme. Which he looks almost exactly like the one in two, almost exactly. But he's a recurring feature in Xeno games. But yeah, he dies pretty much immediately. Ripperoni. But then you're also introduced to the consoles, CONSULS, not consoles. Um,
Like a
and
consulate.
yes, and the consoles are like, "Hey, we don't like you. You should probably just die. That'd be cool." Um, and so he ends up getting, I guess, attacked by our kiddos, our Ouroboros kiddos. Um, and he leaves. And so the crew that we're with, the six folks, they're like, "Okay, we don't like each other. We're just gonna go home now. Goodbye." And then when our main guys that we started with, the Noah and Lands and Uni get back, everybody's like, "Oh, hey, you're the traitors. You should probably die now," which is not good. Um, and so they all meet up back together, and like, "So I guess we're all friends now because everybody else hates us."
Can we
So
coexist? Well, everyone wants to murder us, so yes. Yes, we can.
yes, yes, we can. So they, raid Van Damme's ship and get some nice clothes and um move on, I guess. They're gonna try and get to the city, which they don't know what that is, but they're gonna keep going. Um and through through all of these shenanigans, you find out that the flame clock system is basically bull. And Noah has a special sword that you find out can cut anything, which is whoa. But he has to actually like unsheath it from his sword blade thing. Um, but hey, turns out you can destroy the flame clocks with that,
Woo.
and you can free the colonies from the flame clock system. Yay! So you do a whole lot of that throughout the game, and that's how you end up getting a lot of your heroes is by freeing these colonies. Some of them are required by the story, but not all of them are required by the story.
But when you're Al, everyone's required by the story.
Yes. Yes. And you get to kill a bunch of consoles along the way. It is quite a thing. So I'm trying to figure out how to make this brief. Because a lot happens. A lot happens. Um, yeah, you keep trying to head towards the sword. That's what happens. Um, and they run into all kinds of hurdles along the way, including the fact that so all the consoles have a letter as their name. Uh, and they run into a console named J. Um, and they learn at one point, I think this is at Colony Lambda that you learn this. Yes, it's at Colony Lambda. That J is actually Yorin, who was the he was a mage healer type character that hung out with Noah and Lance and Uni. And he ended up saving Lance's life and dying, and is part of what inspired Noah to be an offseer, because he's like, he was smiling as he died. What does that smile mean? I need to know. I need to get closer to death and understand it.
He had a little fart as he was dying, and he thought it was funny.
Probably. But now Yorin is a consul and wants to murder everybody. So that sucks. He's not actually dead. He's just murderous.
Al, I want you to know that in your brief overview of the plot, you're just now finished the second paragraph on Wikipedia.
Oh no. Okay. So you're continuing on, things happen. You eventually are trying to go to Keva's castle, and you end up fighting some folks, which you have a really cool scene with this guy, Kamaravi, who's on fire basically. But he's like this cool samurai guy who always wants to fight with Ethel, who is somebody on the Kevis side. Um, and at one point, one of the consuls is like trying to control him, and he's like, you know what? I'm not one to be controlled. And he just like takes out his own eyeball so that he can't be controlled using like the flame clock system. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Very normal things.
Very normal. He's just like, no, I'm good. Thank you. Let me just tear out my eyeball. Just a little. So you sneak into the castle, sneak. And Noah has this plan. He has a system behind it because he's been to the castle before. He got some off-seeing training there. And he apparently at one point messed up in the tracking of the sewer system, basically. And they end up in the throne room. Whoops. And Melia is there. She's the queen. And she also wants you to die.
Well, that's mean.
Is mean. And I was very sad because, like, Melia, I love you. What are you doing? Also, this guy named In shows up.
They're very keen on these characters with just singular letter names.
He looks suspiciously like Noah. Imagine that. Just with much longer hair and gold armor and a mask. And yeah, so you fight Melia, in watches, and at one point some magic gets thrown at Melia, and her mask gets knocked off, and it turns out she's a robot.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's not actually her. And so that kind of throws everybody off, like, what?
So where's the queen?
This is not good. And then at this point, the castle gets attacked, and these airships that look like Van Damme's airship, they show up and they steal a bunch of these pods that are all around her. Oh, by the way, turns out that they're just like reincarnating people.
Wait, that was basically what I was going to say when you were talking about the J-Man. I was like, are they just like taking these people who die and just reusing them or some sort of thing?
The consoles are different. But yes. So what happens at one point is that Ethel from Colony 4 dies in the fight with Kamaravi. He also dies. Um, and then when they're in the castle, they see in like one of the cribs, they see Ethel, and they're like, "Wait a minute, that's Ethel. Like we saw her when she was a year one, and that's what she looked like. Why is she here?" And so that's when they realize, like, oh, they're just literally like when somebody dies, they just use the body again and keep the system going. They just
But
don't
the
have any of
person
the
doesn't like have the same, like they don't have memories or like
mm-mm.
anything connecting them back to when they who they previously were.
They're not supposed to.
Right.
At one point, Uni ends up getting some memories from her past. And that her up for a good long while
Mm-hmm.
because she sees her own husk and she's like, that's my body. That's
I'm not
me.
supposed to see that.
I'm I'm dead right there, but I'm not dead. And then she remembers how she died, and it's real messed up. And this is actually one part that I really appreciate because um Tyon notices how rattled she gets by this. Like she hasn't explained to anybody, and she won't explain to anybody what happened in a long time. But he notices that something's bothering her, and like she's physically shaking at one point. He like makes her a cup of tea and tries to like calm her down, which is really nice because they're partners. Um, and he when they fuse as Ouroboros, they see each other's memories essentially. So he at one point when they fuse, like he sees what she saw, but still keeps it to himself until she's ready to talk about it, which is also a really cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Tyon is kind of a little grumpy butt, but he's a good dude. He's a very good dude. So, anyway, what was I talking about?
The pods are getting stolen.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes. And so yeah, in case you haven't figured it out, is Noah, but it's not the same Noah.
Yes, and he has a partner who's also Mio, but is not Mio.
Do you find that out at that point? I think
I
you
don't
find
know.
that out
Look, it's
later.
in the paragraph.
Okay, okay.
It
Well,
is then revealed that N is Noah and his partner M is Mio.
okay. That's true. But I think you
But their
find out
similarity
about
to the player controls is yet unknown.
yes.
Or to the character that the player
Um,
controls is unknown. But regardless,
I
that's a thing.
that is a thing, yes. I think that M technically comes later, but that's fine. N and M are Noah and Mio. But they're also villains. So, um, they run into the lost numbers who are like, by the way, we probably should explain a whole lot of things to you. Why don't you come to the city? It's at the base of the sword.
I hear
um
humans are there,
well, yes.
but not your kind of humans.
Not your kind of humans.
The regular
um
kind.
so you're met with you meet Monica,
Yes.
and Monica is Van Ham's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
which they're all confused because like, what the heck is a daughter? What does
Oh
that
yeah, I guess that
mean?
would be confusing.
Yeah, they're like,
What's what? Huh? Never heard that
please,
before.
please help. Um,
Is that like some kind of rank in the army?
yeah, like they're really, really confused, and she's like, yeah, so we have a lot to explain to you. And like as they're walking through the city, it's like, why are these people wrinkly? What's happening? Are they okay? And then you realize, like, oh yeah, they haven't seen old people other than Van Ham, but they saw him for like maybe 5 minutes, and he egged them and then died.
So is this a thing where like a section of this world is essentially under the rules of this 10-year cycle deal, and then like
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the world is like just living normally like normal people do? Or is it kind of like an opposite thing where like this is the minority and the rest is the majority?
This is the minority.
Gotcha,
The
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
city is basically the one thing that's fighting back against the flame clock system.
Nahone.
And that's part of why they keep stealing the cradles, is to prevent the reincarnation cycle, to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, they get led to the city. They have a lot of things explained to them. Um, they get taken to a doctor's office and get to see
Baby.
a baby, and like they're told like, hey, give the baby your finger, and the baby will like grip their finger, and they're just like, whoa, this is so cool. Which leads to one of my favorite lines in the game, which is, who wants to know how babies are made? And then all of them raise their hands like, please explain this to me. So you know, you have mostly 18-year-olds, one 19-year-old who are like, please explain how babies are made. Thank you. Appreciate it. Which then leads to a great thing where Uni runs around in the city and is like, do you have babies? What about you? Do you have babies? Have you made babies? It's like, Uni,
Got some babies around here.
You can't just run around asking people if they made babies.
Babies?
Calm
Got some
down,
babies around
Uni.
here? Where are the babies at?
But then, you know, they have to explain like, what is a father and what is a mother and what is a daughter and all kinds of fun stuff that is like, also, Monica says that everybody in the city is descended from the first round of Ouroboros. There are statues to the founders in the city.
Mm-hmm.
There has been some hot debate on who they are.
Like within the game or within like the community of the people who play? Okay.
Because one specifically says like, oh, that one has Noah's chin, which is important. But then you have one that it talks about him having like a non-working arm and how he could be seen on the battlefield with his big red sword. And I was like, huh. And when I look at the statue, I'm like, that looks like an older Shulk. It looks like if you gave Shulk from the DLC from Definitive Edition like longer hair and a fake arm.
Right.
He had a red sword.
Whoa.
But other people are like, oh, that's just Dunban. I'm like, that, why would it be Dunban? Why would they have Dunban there?
Always be Dunban.
But also, like, he didn't have a mechanical arm, and Shulk, you know, he's a mechanic by trade. That's what he does.
What if
What if
it's just Rhine? Every statue is just Rhine.
I
Rhine time, baby.
I want a mod where every statue is Rhine. There's another one that looks more like younger Shulk that everybody's like, yeah, that's Shulk. I'm like, I don't know, maybe. There is another statue that is a relatively beefy guy with messy hair and has like a salvager top on. And people are like, oh, it's Zeke. They talk about how he doesn't have an eye. It's like, Zeke has an eye. He just can't afford his contact, so he wears the eye patch. But this character does not have an eye. They're missing an eye. But I was like, I mean, he has the salvager gear. Like, I think it's very clearly an older Rex.
How many ladies are dripping off of him?
Well, we'll talk about that. None on the statue.
Well, I don't know. I can't be him then.
Yeah, the rest are like, we don't know who these people are. And then there's apparently a mysterious seventh founder who didn't want a statue dedicated to them.
That was me. Sorry. I just wanted to be very mysterious and anonymous.
Makes sense.
It was also Rhine.
It was Rhine. No, we actually do know who it was, but anyway,
Rhine time.
So it's Rhine time, baby.
Tell me about the queens.
The queens.
How they are missing.
Yes.
They've gone into hiding.
Like I said, Melia was a robot.
So I guess for clarification, it's people kind of figured this out very early on.
Yes.
Who these two are? This is Melia
Yes.
and Nia,
Yes.
and
But but
but
like I said, this one is a robot,
right,
so it's obviously not her.
right,
Where is she actually? It's a big mystery until the very end.
right.
Nia, you actually get to interact with.
No, nay.
There is a robot version of her that you have to fight too.
Okay.
But you do actually get to talk to Nia a lot. She does a massive plot dump on you, which is great. Um, but yes, that is they are part of the system to fight back against Mobius.
Mm-hmm.
The queens are. They're basically the leaders of the fight against Mobius, which is the consuls. Um, and the consuls are led by a fella named Zed, or Z as the Americans would call it. Um
Hmm.
yeah, Zed.
Zed.
Zed. And so yeah, there can only be 6 at a time at the Ouroboros. There's this one gal named Shania who's real mad that she
Shania
can be an
Twain.
Ouroboros. Yeah, Shania Twain.
Man, I feel like a woman.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, so you end up having to go to Agnes Castle, and you basically have to break into prison to find Gondor. And you break into the prison, go in through a little sewer again. Um, and you're looking for Gondor, and at one point there's this like ornery gal who's just yelling at people and has these two big bodyguards and like, hey, we're looking for Gondor, and she's like, that's me, what's up?
Hey, how's it
um
going?
and they're like, you're Gondor? We kind of expected like a big dude or something. She's like, nope, nope, it's me, I'm Gondor. By the way, I know where the queens are. I have the key that I'm supposed to give to the people who are worthy. um so now they have to plan a prison break to get Gondor out, and also you, because you don't want to be stuck in prison forever. Um, so your plan mostly works until it doesn't. And N and M are hanging out outside, and they're like, "Hey, you're breaking out, huh? We can't let that happen. That's not good." Um, and M decides that she is going to deal with them essentially, and she has a power to like take over bodies.
Oh yes, they stole that from Naruto.
Oh my god.
Can't
Um
believe they would steal the mind swap jutsu. How dare
oh my
they?
god.
How dare they?
Um so it I don't know what to say about this.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 rips off Naruto.
Oh my god.
That's my new headline. Clickbait.
So you have to fight M while she's taking over characters' bodies, which is stressful. Also, she like looks at Mio and like cries a little bit. And she's like, "Whoa, what's happening with her? Wow." Um, and they end up essentially getting captured, and you have this really intense scene that it's an extended scene, but it is really really hard. Because in being the shady little that he is like, you know, I'm interested in a show. I want to see something fun. Are you excited about this?
Woo!
Woo! Um, so it's been said since the very beginning, Mio has 3 months until her homecoming. So she has 3 months to live. That's it. And so In ends up putting Mio in a cell next to everybody else in a cell, and he's like, "Yeah, so we're just gonna keep you here until her homecoming, and then we're gonna make you attend her homecoming and just watch her die. Fun, right? Um, so um Noah ends up kind of going crazy. I liked this detail of the game that like you can slowly see the other characters like giving up on getting out, but he's not ever giving up. But um if you look at his hands throughout a lot of these scenes, like his knuckles are just like blistered up and bloody, and like the skin's all torn back because he's just been pounding against the cell trying to get out so he can help Mio. And like pounding on the walls and doing whatever he can, so his hands are just but I thought that was a really good touch, and it doesn't actually go away until you like have been away from the castle for a little bit, which again is a nice touch that they actually just kept that going.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was one point when I left the castle, which this is a whole other thing I'll get into. But I left the castle, and I ended up doing like an off seeing, and like you could see while he was playing the flute that his knuckles were all messed up. It's like, oh, that's actually really cool. Anyway, um, so yeah, they're like, man, this sure does suck, right? Yay. Noah stops eating. It's a real mess. Um, and essentially a month goes by with them in there. It comes to the point where like it's almost the homecoming, and Mio was saying like how happy she was to get to spend time with her Noah. Um, which this might have been the part where I was like crying in the club. I don't remember. Because it was one of these scenes I was just like bawling. I was just full on crying. But then you were playing Live Alive and the boss theme started up. I was just like, this is such a jam, but also I'm so sad.
Bobbing my head, but I'm crying.
It's really what was happening. So yeah, they take her up to the Robonia, and they're taking her for the homecoming. And so Mio is like on her knees up at the front. Everybody else is like tied up and looking at her.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually something I should have mentioned. At one point, Noah and Mio swapped flutes. They took like he took Mio's and she took Noah's. Which kind of was weird because not that was weird, but In gives Noah his flute and was like, by the way, you want to do this off seeing? That'd be great, right? And so Mio like smiles back and fades away into nothing and goes and dies, I guess. Um, and then they put Noah down, and they're like, all right, time for decapitation. Woo!
Woo!
Um, and so he's about to do the thing, and then Noah starts having like these visions about like other versions of himself and Mio. And so he keeps seeing like there's one where they have a kid, and Mio ends up doing the whole expiration thing after 10 years, and then he ends up expiring after 10 years, and the kid's just like, all right, well, my dad just disappeared in front of me, and I'm like, two. This sucks.
What do I do?
This sucks. And also, he left me in the woods. What happens now?
Help, I'm a woods baby.
I'm a woods baby. I'm gonna be raised by wolves.
Awoo.
But essentially what you're seeing is repeated instances where Noah is unable to save Mio. And it kind of like shatters him. and Mr. Zed shows up as like, hey, what if I gave you the opportunity that you could just be with her forever? Wouldn't that be cool? And it's like, yeah, actually that would be cool. I would like that. So that's the origin of N and M as Mobius. Um but
Morbius? We're Morbin?
Mo- Mobius. But then our Noah that we were playing as like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not making that decision. That decision sucks. And comes back and he's still under the sword. The sword has not fallen down. He's not dead. Um and turns out that M had like swap bodies with Mio. But she had the ability to like do that time stop thing, so she stopped in from killing Noah. And then it becomes a situation where he's like, wait a minute, what's happening? Mio went away. Who are you? And she's like, no, no, we swap bodies. I'm actually Mio. You just let him die through the homecoming because we swapped bodies. Which makes In go completely insane because he did this whole thing to protect her and now she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And even goes in this whole like rant about like being with his woman and all this stuff. It's like, whoa, buddy, you gotta calm down.
My woman.
Yeah, and it's a very good moment of voice acting, by the way. So yeah, M basically was like, yeah, so I didn't like the way that N was behaving. I didn't like what he'd become. I wanted to be free of it. This was my way of being free. I loved being with my Noah, and that's not who In is anymore. So yeah, that's what the whole my Noah statement was from M. So anyway, things are bad. And Noah, using some strength that he has now from Mio being okay and actually being free of the whole 10-year cycle now because she has M's body. He draws his like super fancy sword and is like, all right, cool. Let's get out of here. That would be cool, right? Um, so they get out. Mio has M's memories. Like, okay, so I know where Nia is, and we got to go to Cloud Keep. We got to go find Nia. She's asleep there. We got to wake her up.
It's having
Let's do
a
that.
chill nap.
Yep. Um, so they go to Cloud Keep, and they end up running into D and J. I think I know it's J.
DJ.
D and J. Okay, I thought that's who it was. Who they ran into at the very very beginning when they became Ouroboros. And D and J are real antagonistic and don't want you to wake up Nia. But at one point, as like they're talking and being like, Yorin, what the hell, dude? Like, what's going on? Yorin ends up having like he decides that he doesn't want to be a part of this anymore. He's like, what if I just kill us both?
Woo.
And he does that. And he's like, all right, D, you suck. I don't want to do this anymore. Let's just both die.
He didn't want the D.
He didn't want the D. So D and J are both dead. They mourn for Yorn for a little bit, but then realize like we gotta move on. We gotta wake up Nia. Which I guess that's one thing that I missed is that Nia actually, you find her and you start like opening up the bed thing that she's asleep in. She gets shot. And that's the whole thing with D and J. And everybody's like, now what do we do? Like the queen's dead. What do we do? And then you hear like the hardcore like Welsh accent start saying things, and you realize like, oh right, Nia's a healer. She's fine. Um, but then she realized like, oh god, there are people here. Let me be fancy queen voice. Sorry about that. Everything is fine. Um, so this is where we get plot dump. Um, so you have Xenoblade Chronicles 1 world, you have Xenoblade Chronicles world, Xenoblade Chronicles 2
Two.
world. They were parallel, and then they got split at the end of 2.
Now they're gonna come back together and
Now
everyone's gonna die.
now they're gonna come back together. Yes, you said it. So apparently you're reading a wiki faster than I am. Yeah, so essentially Nia and Melia work together and like, okay, so what if we create Origin? And
Origin?
can
Oh no.
no. Like this is gonna basically like be a way to save the worlds that like once they merge, like we can rebuild. Um and so they teamworked. They communicated via light, I think, through the worlds so that they could build Origin together with some work. Nia explains from a Nopon engineer, which, as you are very well aware, is shoot, what's his name? He's Poppy's driver.
What is his name?
Bora?
Hang on. I will click Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and go to that wiki.
Okay. So anyway, Zed is like, I will take this Origin for myself. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome.
And I'm just going to stop everything. I'm just gonna keep it in perpetual stop mode.
Tora.
The Tor. That's what I said.
Okay.
Yay, I got it right. So he calls it the Endless Now. But in order to fuel the Endless Now, you have to have the flame clocks and the killing and all that, which is why the system was always like it was.
Kind of busted.
What?
Kind of busted.
Yeah, it's very messed up. So Nia has plot dumped us. Thank you, Nia.
Thank you.
You end up getting a cool boat that can go through superstorms. And our good pal Riku, which by the way, genius move on their part. That in Japanese, Riku's voice actor is like the regular like high-pitched Nopon voice. In the English dub, they're like, what if we just make him have this like deep baby making voice? And I was like, this is brilliant. This is the greatest thing they could have possibly done. Basically, he talks like that. He talks like that, and it's fantastic. It's so good. He's also the only Nopon that talks like that.
How's it going?
I was like, yes, thank you. So anyway, they have a boat, and Gondor and Monica are supporting us, and we're gonna break into Origin, and we're gonna defeat the Zed. And we have to free Melia, which we do. Turns out Melia is here. She is like wrapped up in Origin in a weird way, and they free her. And she's like, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I have a lot to do now. I'm gonna go.
I gotta get to work.
I'm gonna support you though. Trust me, it'll be fine. So she leaves. And shows up and is like, yo, that wasn't cool. Why would you do that? And you have to fight him again, I think. And anyway, it ends up becoming a thing where like Noah and In come to an understanding, and like In becomes one with Noah. So like M is in Mio, In is M Noah now. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, so Zed is not actually like a person per se. He's just like a manifestation.
Hang on. Wikipedia says
What does it say?
He is the manifestation of humanity's fear of the future and desire to stay in the now.
Okay, well that's much better way of what I was gonna say. Anyway, he does this whole like locking of your ability thing, and you break through it with the power of friendship. Um, and the whole time he's like, I'm gonna wreck your day, and I'm like, haha, buddy, I'm almost 20 levels higher than you. Let's do it. So anyway, they they realize like we can't actually defeat Zed in the way that he is right now, because there's always going to be that fear of the future. There's always going to be that fear, and so N and M like pop out of Noah and Mio and become like weird ghosty forms, and like we can do it. We can stop them. We got this. Um, and like they end up like intertwining their fingers, which is cute. They're such a messed up couple, and like Jesus Christ, that is such an abusive relationship and so toxic. But anyway, they end up kablooeying Zed, so thank you, appreciate that. Um, and so yeah, now we have a reactivation. We have everything going into the way it was supposed to be. And you have Noah at one point being like, I don't know if we made the right decision, but okay, we just got to move forward. Um, so they have to be separated. And so you have the crew like on a cliff talking to each other. You have this really nice moment where Tyon he gives Uni some tea leaves and some directions on how to make like nice relaxing tea. And she looks at him and is like, how is this gonna work, dude? Like, if anything's from your world, then it's just gonna disappear when I go home. He's like, that's why I used everything that came from your world. She's like, you're brilliant. You're my fourth best friend. And he's like, wait, what? Four? There's Noah and there's Lance. Why am I four? Um, and I saw a theory on this that I think is really cute. Uni is obsessed with the number four. She's big on collecting basically like the equivalent of four-leaf clovers. And she talks about those a whole lot and how important they are to her. And so I think that it's actually like a significant thing to her that she's picking him as four. Because she does hint earlier on like, hey, she might actually have some kind of like feelings for this dude. He's kind of yeah, he's kind of oblivious. But he definitely reacts to the fourth best friend thing. And even at one point he's like, why am I listing guys? What's happening here? Senna and Lance basically talk to each other and like, all right, you better keep up with your lifting routine, buddy. You got to keep doing it. They're like, yeah. We're going to just keep getting swole. Because they bonded over being meatheads, basically. Which is adorable. It's so cute. And then Noah and Mio end up smooching. Get a little kiss. Which was cute. And then the worlds start splitting apart, and they start trying, oh god, they start trying to run at each other. But obviously like everything keeps getting further away until it becomes like a split. They can still see each other, and like Noah and Mio are yelling at each other like, I'll find you, we'll meet again someday, I promise, we'll figure it out. So that was cute. You get to see Melia, looking at the Monado Rex that was from the DLC from one, the definitive edition. She just has that in her castle for some reason.
Hanging on to it.
And then Nia is in Cloud Keep, and Poppy shows up and is like, hello. And she looks at a picture. And I showed you this picture. We gotta talk about this picture. We gotta talk about this picture. Because there has been a meme that came out of it of Giga Chad Rex, because
He
in
got the
this
harem
picture
ending.
he did get the harem ending. Oh my god. Like, it's been a joke since 2 came out, and like, people played through it, that Nia got like a friend zone, because there was the moment where she says that she's in love with him, or she loves him, and he's like, I love you too, and all of you guys. And it was like, oh, I don't think he understood what she meant. Oh, he understood. He understood what she meant. Because in this picture that you see, you have all the crew, you have the fun folks all there. But you have Nia with a baby. You have Hyra with a baby. You have Mithra with a baby. And then you have Rex, who just has his arms around everybody. And you're like, oh my God. Not only did Rex like bonk all of them, he bonked all of them like at the same time, because they all have babies that are the same age. Rex, what are you doing? Wildin'. So yeah, it also made me, in retrospect, I was just like, they really did make Xenoblade 2 into like anime trash by doing this. And I texted you, I was like, on the one hand, it's cool that they're like, here's a poly relationship and it's healthy and everybody's happy. That's good. We like that. But also it's like, but this is really a harem ending, isn't it?
100%.
Like, oh god. So Giga Chad Rex is a thing. Um I was at least happy that he was an adult by that point.
Yeah, but he didn't have his
Because
diver gear on. He didn't look dumb.
I am sad that he didn't have his hot pants on. Yeah, they just gave him like a
Make that
regular
boy
ass
look
outfit.
dumb.
Please make that boy look
It's very
regular
funny.
outfit on. But Mithra and Pyra actually had normal outfits on, which was great. I was
Do you
very
think he
happy about
boinked them
that.
when they were merged together or separately?
Well, they can't merge anymore.
Maybe he found a way.
Oh no, like that's part of the end too, is that they can't merge anymore. They become two separate people.
Look, he did this. Maybe he found a way.
Or he just bonked all 3 of them at separate times, but like
Or
at
the
the
same
same
time.
time, because all the babies are the same age. There's a post-credit scene, but before we talk about that, you can go back in after you beat the game, and you can recruit Nia and Melia as heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to like unlock their special stuff, you have to do like a quest for them. And one of them is you run around with Nia, and she like wants to go to certain places and talk to you about it. And you get a lot of context on like, oh, this was what this was in 2. I'm like, yeah, I knew that. Thank you. Um but there's a moment where you go to the founders hall, which by the way should be mentioned, the 7th founder is Nia. Because she's the one who created the first Ouroboros stone. But she didn't want a statue.
Would have been too obvious.
Too obvious. So anyway, you meet up with her at the founder statues, and Mio is talking to her, and she they're having a conversation about like how Nia was really connected with her and how she really wanted to talk to her more and all. And it is heavily implied that Mio is actually, or at least the original Mio, was Nia's daughter.
Mm.
So Mio would have been Rex and Nia's kid. Which would explain why they have the same hair, basically. She's Gormati, but she has like the similar eye color to Rex, and Nia says the whole thing, which like is pretty stereotypical for like, family things, is like, oh yeah, you are this to me, and then gets interrupted. But yeah, it's very heavily implied that the original Mio was Nia's kid, or is Nia's kid. So that's cool. Um, Also, she's a pretty broke healer, and I love it. When I was doing all my like post game super boss stuff, I was like, Nia, you want to come along? Yeah. So post credit scene. Um, at the very beginning of the game, you get this scene where you have like 10-year-old ish Noah meeting up with Lance and Uni and Yorin, and they're gonna go see fireworks at the castle
Woo.
at like Alchemoth Castle, whatever that castle is called. Um where Melly is basically. And so they're all doing that at the beginning, and then everything freezes, and like you see that scene. So you also see that scene post credits. And I think what it's implying, and I could be wrong here, is that that freeze is the moment where like things were supposed to do the merge, but Origin took over and froze everything, which would make sense. But in this version of it, they're still going to do the fireworks, but then Noah ends up hearing the flute and walks over. No, and walks over that direction, but then he's gone. And so I'm not sure what to make of that he's gone.
Dead.
Well, what I'm assuming it means
he
because
went over
of
to their world or her world.
Right, I'm assuming that because of her flute being there, that like that implies that they were able to reunite.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. But the question now that a lot of people have is there's going to be a DLC story pack.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about this. Like, where does this DLC take place then? Considering, like, outside of that little hint at the very, very end, like, it feels like everything's kind of wrapped up pretty well in terms of the story here. But also, the Xenoblade Chronicles remaster had future DLC with its expansion pack. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had past story DLC for its expansion pass.
Right.
So, like, where would this end up?
So there are two assumptions, and I'm not sure where I fall on this. One assumption on it is that the DLC will be about the founders.
Which makes sense.
About the original founding of like the original Ouroboros, the original city, who those statues actually are supposed to be, that kind of thing.
And it brings back a bunch of characters that you'd already know, so like it would give you that fan service if you wanted.
So there is that theory. The other theory is like DLC of doing the reuniting type thing. Which I'm a big fan of happy endings, as you are very well aware, especially when it comes to romancy stuff.
Which, like, I don't think this isn't a happy ending.
It's you're right, because it's heavily implied that they find each other again. And that's part of the themes of the game, is that Noah and Mio always found each other again, no matter what happened.
Right.
Even within an M's, like Noah and Mio always find each other. So like I have no doubts they were gonna find each other again. I don't know how it works because they're in technically separate worlds, but like Origin's gonna take over and blah blah blah. I don't know. Anyway. So I feel like it would be kind of weird to go that route.
Yeah, like I don't think you necessarily have to be like that explicit with it. Like, good writing doesn't have to spell everything out for you at times.
No, I agree.
Like the way they end this seems fine.
I think so. And with them talking about the fact that and they've showed that one of the Noahs in the cycle was big in the city. And they talk about, oh, that guy has Noah's chin. So like you would have a Noah to play as in the original Ouroboros, I'm assuming,
Right.
which would mean that there would be a Mio that would be able to be there. So then the rest of it would just be, how do we have this other cast fill out?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you would get to see like how did this originally go down, and one thread that they left very much open is that kid.
Right.
Yeah, there's no explanation ever of what happens to their kid.
So like maybe the DLC is about the kid.
I've wondered that. Because two reasons. One, they never touch again about that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Two, like there's this thing that happens in the game early on where you find out about Noah's like crazy sword that's called Lucky Seven. And he asked Riku, like, can I rename it? And he's like, whatever. And then Noah doesn't want to tell anybody the name because he says he's like bad at naming things. Um, and then when they have the kid, Mio tells him like, "Hey, you should name this kid." And then it cuts away before you can actually get him saying like, "This is what I'm going to name the kid." So you have two instances of him having a moment of like, I'm naming something important to me, but you're not going to know what it is. And then this kid is just inexplicably missing from the narrative after that. So I feel like he has to be something relatively important.
Right.
But I might just be overthinking this because that's who I am as a person.
It's Shulk.
I don't think it's Shulk because he has black hair.
Shulk just got into dyeing his hair. Did they ever get into like the backstory of like who Noah's parents are supposed to be? Like, does he have like a connection to other Xenoblade characters like the same way that Mio does, or is it that kind of just like not really touched upon?
It's not touched upon, which is also an interesting thing. Because everybody in the games, like, you have Noah's crew who, you have Noah who's regular human guy. You have Lance who is some form of machina. Like he's very much descended from that. He doesn't have as much of the machinery stuff that they had, but he has the same facial markings, which is interesting. And then you have Uni, who's Hyentia.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Gorbati with Mio, and you have like Senna is a blade of some sort, but she has the fire hair like Bridget did.
So like all these other
just
characters have some form of connection that you could pinpoint to,
correct.
while he doesn't.
Correct.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could. There are definitely different avenues you could go with this DLC, or maybe you just go with all of them.
Right. Yeah, I mean there are definitely ways that you could go with some cool stuff here if you try.
Yeah, like there's enough intriguing aspects to this, even though like the way the story ends, it feels like they wrapped it up very well.
Yeah, I was satisfied.
That you could do something intriguing with this DLC, which I have said every time that they've done a DLC thing, they do very good things with those. So like I would expect them to do something really interesting and, something that's really good with whatever this DLC is going to be.
Right.
So I'm intrigued to see how they're gonna pull that off and see exactly what they do with it. Is there?
Well, at least now you know the story.
Yeah. Is there? Did they ever give like a date on when that's supposed to like drop, or is it just kind of like we have this story season pass and that's it?
Yeah, we have the season pass and that's it.
Gotcha.
We know that we're gonna get another hero at some point.
Which would make sense. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. And I've seen.
Which is also another way for them to kind of like have an out of like, oh, we're getting another hero, but like that doesn't mean you're playing with the same crew that you played in the original game.
Right. And one of the cool things about the heroes is that they had very different fighting styles than your base characters. So like there are ways that they can play with that.
Right. So I'm looking at the expansion pass stuff, and it has
Mm-hmm.
dates, quote unquote, for
Okay.
this. Wave one's already out, which is a
Yes.
collective of helpful items and color variations. Wave two is
Yep.
supposed to hit by the end of the year. Just literally says
Okay.
December 31st. Challenge battle mode against difficult enemies, a new hero character and accompanying quests, new character outfits.
Okay.
Wave 3 by the end of April 30th, 2023. Again, challenge battle mode against difficult enemies, a new hero character, and new character outfits. And then Wave 4 is the new original story scenario due out by the end of 2023.
Okay.
So the new hero stuff is not connected to the story.
Interesting.
So I wonder if you'll get maybe like Rex and Shulk as hero characters you could play as or something like that.
Okay, I have a
Because they did
theory.
that thing in 2, right?
They did. They did. They had Fiora and Shulk.
Which I don't remember if that was like canonical or not. I just remember
It
that was
was not.
DLC. So like if they're
It was
just
not
adding in
canonical.
DLC hero characters here, like they can kind of do things like that with it.
Okay, can I hit you with my theory though?
Yeah. Sorry.
So there's two, right?
Yes.
What if the two hero characters are Pyra and Mithra's kids with Rex?
Yeah, I mean you could do that, but like
Since you have Mio,
the only thing I think is that like how much are the quest actual story stuff, or is it just
if
like
it's
here's some quests that you get to do with these characters?
right. So how it worked with the hero characters in the game right now is that you have an initial quest that is their like quest to recruit them, and you'll have like some story bits there. Then you have to get whoever inherits that class, you have to get them to level 10 with that class.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have a second story where you get more information out of that character about like who they are, what they're about, what makes them tick. And then that levels them up to level 20. Unless you're Izzard, in which case Izzard decides that he wants to go to a hot spring, and that's like his second quest. It's like, okay, Izzard, good character development there, buddy. I am going to go to a hot spring. Um, so there are two like decent story bits that you get with these characters, so you kind of know who they are.
But I wonder if if like they're going to be tied into like this challenge mode.
Yeah, that's something that I'm not sure about.
Yeah. But regardless, I
Um,
don't think it's. I would assume they're probably not going to go something like super story heavy with those, or
Probably
or
not.
like characters that would need that kind of story,
Right.
and they would save that for whatever
DLC pack is.
the DLC story is. Yeah.
Like yeah.
That's why I think you would probably get like Rex and Shulk. They could be like, "Oh, hello, we're Rex and Shulk." Blah 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 blah.
Would you get the older versions of them though?
That's the question. Or would you do both of them because they probably both played the same?
Yeah, I mean, ish.
But then after that, like, who would you go with?
Right.
So
Um, well, I can show you. I can send this to you very quickly while we are live on the air. Ish. We're not actually live at all.
we almost were.
Yes, you're right. I'm sending you the silhouette of the first character. And I can guarantee you that's not Shulk or Rex.
Well, okay, yeah, that definitely is not Shulk Rex. What if it's Poppy?
Oh, it could be Poppy. I didn't think about that. Like a different kind of Poppy.
Well, do you see Poppy in the main game? Because like I know Nia is supposed to like meet up with Poppy.
You only see like I mean, at the very, very end before you see the picture, Poppy, like her original version, shows up and like
Right.
goes to hang out with Nia.
And Poppy had like different versions in the game, right? And
Yeah, she
two.
had Poppy QT and Poppy QT
So
Pie.
it's not with that like outside of the realm of possibility that like she could have new forms.
A new form.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I feel like with the way that silhouette is, it's the only character that kind of makes sense, at least of someone that we would know, unless it's someone just completely new, which I would just be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
You
don't
would know
know.
better
I
than
mean,
me, and you were like, I don't know.
I don't know. But I do know that is not Shulk or Rex.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm interested to see what that is.
yeah. It'll be curious to see when they decide to like
Announce it.
announce that and put it out.
Yeah. Um, I didn't even think about Poppy. That's actually a good point.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Nice.
I got the clear mind because I haven't played it.
But now you know what happens. So when you go to the DLC pack, you'll be like, all right, Al told me the story. I know what's up.
If I remember it by next year rolls around.
Al was supposed to keep it very short and did not keep it very short
Hey,
at all.
we're at like an hour and a half. This is short.
Wow, I'm actually impressed. I thought it was much longer than that.
You did well. I mean, you still went long.
Yes.
You weren't brief.
No.
But again, I don't know how you were. This is still brief compared to what it could have been.
There's a lot to cover, and I cut a lot out.
Yeah, you played this game for 146 hours, so that's
sure
brief to cut
did.
it down to under an hour in terms of talking about the story.
You know what's one of the most important things to take away from this?
What's that?
Cinna is the girl with the gall.
There you go. That's the way we wrap this up.
Oh boy. Oh man.
There you go. But yeah, I think you have said this. It's the final word.
Okay.
Where does this rank in terms of the other games? I think you've said that like you really like this game.
I really like this game.
It's better than 2, which isn't hard.
It's better than 2. I think it's better than Cross.
Well, we're not really counting Cross here. Cross is his own different thing. In terms of the story trilogy.
Right.
Which I know how much you like the first one, so like that's a hard decision to make.
It is a hard decision. I've been struggling with this, and I've had a question to myself of like, is it recency bias that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I really, really like this one. I think that this does a lot of very interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
That one might not have been able to pull off because it was like
the introduction.
The problem is that it's so entwined with 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That like it really relies narratively on.
It's kind of like how do you rank the Trails of Cold Steel games when all of those build upon each other?
Right. And it's the same thing, except for like I can 100% tell you mechanically this is the best one.
Yeah.
Mechanically, 1,000%. Like it controls beautifully. It makes a lot of sense. It's fun to play. I really enjoyed the battle system. Actually, like putting accessories on and gems on, very easy. One of the great things that they added to this, side note, is that you can create the gems, and you only have to create the gem one time, then everybody can use it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very different from how it was with 1, where it's like you have to, if you want to use like strength 6, you have to create every single person to have a strength 6. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to have to do that. And then it was just equipable by everybody. I'm like, oh, this is a game changer. This is brilliant. So yes, mechanically it is far and away the best. I think I will have to like be away from it a little bit to be able to gauge like how I feel about it compared to 1.
Yeah, it's fair.
But I can tell you it is right up there with 1.
Yeah.
It is right there.
Hand in hand.
If they are hand in hand. Like if the recency bias wears off and I still feel the way that I do, then like it might actually top one. But I have to see.
Right.
Because one is one of my favorite games of all time.
Well, we will wait and see. Might just be one of those things where like this day of the week it's the best one. Tomorrow it's one.
I mean that's how I am with some of the Zelda games. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ain't a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. But like the fact that it is right up there with one for me is it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not Rhine time in this one, so that one is a detriment. But
look, not everything can be Rhine time.
Lands does want something a bit meatier, and Senna is the girl with gall. So,
however,
none of
these have anyone talking about, if they think you can take me, don't forget me. You're done.
You're right.
And I think we're done with this podcast.
Yeah, I think that's the episode. That's the episode.
Well, I'm glad you're able to enjoy another Xenoblade game.
Yo, me too. I was so happy that I liked it so much.
Yeah.
You just had to deal with me going into full gremlin mode for a little bit.
Hey, that's just expected.
Yeah, you knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
My brother knew it was coming. My brother literally left my apartment because he knew it was coming.
Smart.
He's like, she's gonna go in gremlin mode on the couch, which is my current bed. I'm gonna go back now.
I gotta go.
Literally the day before it came out, or the day it did come out, because I took him to the airport and then it came out for me on Thursday night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he knew what was up.
He knew what was up. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. If you would like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared to Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, and a whole wealth of bonus content as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, we'll talk about not Xenoblade.
Not Xenoblade, unfortunately.